Welcome to Investing Opportunities in India, organized by DoorDarshi Advisors. DoorDarshi Advisors invests in Indian equities through DoorDarshi India Fund, a Delaware-domiciled fund. For this event, we brought some of the most preeminent experts, thought leaders, and seasoned professionals from across India to explore, discuss, and share their perspectives on the evolving landscape of investment opportunities in the country. The sessions in the conference include Rajeev Agrawal opened the conference with why India and Indian equities is one of the best investment opportunities in the world today. Rajeev is the founder of DoorDarshi Advisors. Next session was delivered by ICICI Bank. ICICI is one of the largest private banks in India, and they provide an overview of their services. Subsequent session was conducted by Ashishkumar Chauhan, the MD CEO of NSE or National Stock Exchange, the largest exchange in India. Rajeev Agrawal then comes back and talks about his experience investing in Indian equities. Rajeev is the managing partner of DoorDarshi India Fund. In this session, Rajeev covers how the fund has done since inception and what has allowed it to succeed. Next session was by Alok Gupta, the MD of ABDL. ABDL talks about the evolving Indian consumer and how they are benefiting from it. Last session was a talk by Vikas Khemani. Vikas is the founder of Carnelian Asset Management and Advisors, a boutique investment management firm. The event was hosted by Suchi, who welcomed the audience and introduced the speakers.
Okay, so summarizing my Indian opportunity, I think India has a long runway to grow due to demographics and a low base. A lot of reforms have happened, which has enabled strong balance sheet in terms of corporate, bank, and household, and that should enable India to grow well in the future. Government has, and I cannot talk too much about it, but government capital expenditure has enabled a lot of good investments, and this is also crowding in investment. And one good thing is when government spends on capital expenditure, it has a much better multiplier effect, right? So typically, that multiplier effect will allow the economy to do much better in the future. So given all that, I expect India's GDP to grow at 6 to 7% with a nominal GDP around 10%. And you saw earlier where we had a graph where we said 9.5%. So it is very likely that if you can find good companies, 10 to 15% is a reasonable expectation in the foreseeable future. All of this will translate into high domestic savings, which I talked about. Last year, there was almost $30 billion worth of investment that came into the Indian equity market, which was able to offset most of the pullback that we saw from the FPI investors that we saw last year. So just like in the last few decades, which I showed you, I expect the next few decades to be one of the Indian equities to be one of the best performing asset classes. And that is why we are here talking about India and Indian equities. So with that, I will stop. If there are any questions, happy to take that. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next session.
You can maybe elaborate more on just the domestic population being under-indexed to equities and just the dynamics of, how that, I know you talked about the GDP growth and that funneling into the, more savings in the equities there, but I just was hoping we could.
And one of the big opportunities India has, in my mind, is that as technology becomes available to everybody, one of the earlier issues was we do not have enough resources to take the technology or the.
Are there any legislation pending or anticipated to reduce wealth and income inequality in India?
Indian issue of income inequality is because there was not enough opportunities for people, what I was talking about. What is happening now is there's more such opportunities that are opening up. And to me, as those opportunities open up, that will create more opportunities for people to move up the ladder. So one of the things that you might have noticed, or I don't know how closely you follow India, there's a lot of entrepreneurial activity that is going on. A lot of entrepreneurs are coming up. There are more than 100 unicorns.
So even though we spoke about AI and how smartphones and technology will create those opportunities for the larger working population.
I think AI and its challenges, frankly, at this point, nobody can say how that will play out. But if I just look at the dynamism, I feel good, because one of the things that will happen is a lot of people are going to migrate from rural to urban areas.
In the coming years, India will be a separate asset class for US investors. I don't know if this was covered in your presentation, but I wanted to ask are there any particular themes in India that really excite you, like perhaps Global Capability Center or China Plus One, or like any similar themes you can talk about, and where you see the underlying...
So I think any sector that you take, I think there will be growth. And on top of that, what you have to find is growth is there, but how are the valuations in terms of investment opportunities, right? And that is where it becomes interesting and challenging.
So earnings will grow at that rate. The ROE chart you had shown, which was over 16% per year. What is the historical return on equity has been for Indian stock markets?
Firstly, that this particular theme is underlooked, and we could, an increase in inflows, because that's what we're seeing, could actually kind of revert the main multiple of Nifty's or the stock market index and take it a bit higher than what it has been historically. That's at 18-20 as trade flows increase and businesses become more efficient and the market replaces that.
You talked a lot about equities. What about the bond market? And in that connection, the monetary policy in India, how do you see the prospects of that with reference to interest rates and therefore the bond market?
Forex solutions, again, we have a treasury desk here in US, as well as I mentioned, very large desk in India. We offer settlement in almost 26 currencies, and we handle from here as well as for your India operation, depending upon how, what is your presence in India, it can be dealt on both the sides.
In last 30 years, I created an index called Nifty, NSE 50 index in 1996 with a base of 1995. And today, after 30 years, Nifty has even more returns in dollar terms than S&P 500. So many times I say that America needed Warren Buffett and India needed Nifty.
Factor. What is important is to focus on the returns, and AUM and everything else is a subsequent consideration. So we don't focus on things which will make us look good, but which we think will not help us deliver good returns over the long term. So that is AUM, I already said. We are not focused on AUM. I think if we deliver good returns, AUM will come, and we will talk about what are the type of investors. So I think that is another very important factor that I will talk about. But the other thing we do not worry about is volatility. You know, in the whole investing world, everybody thinks volatility is the way to look at investing and to understand how the risk is. We think volatility, from our context, is the source of opportunity. We always think if things are volatile, if we have done our own analysis and we can understand how the companies will do, we feel that we can take benefit of that volatility, invest when the markets have gone down, when your stocks have gone down, and sell when it has been the reverse.
What are the options to invest in this fund with the retirement account, like 401k?
We have a tie-up with one of the IRA agencies, and so you can invest through them, and through that one could invest into the fund. So yes, there are options of investing not through 401k but through IRA.
I know the balance sheets, both on the private side and the government side, looks pretty pristine financial sector as well. Why do you think the capex has not taken off in India?
Suppose today if you do a capex and suddenly let's say US market is no more available. Suppose you were looking at exports. People are saying, listen, let me take a little bit more time. So my view is a little bit of the uncertainty is causing that.
How do you like generate ideas? Like you sit and like figure out, or like you read a lot, like what's the process?
Yeah.
Or like there might not be a process, but like what do you do to kind of come up with ideas before you like get into?
So ideas could come from, I own a company X, there are 5 competitors of company X, right? Could those 5 competitors be opportunities set for you? Yes, because you understand the business already, right? You already understand the business. Who are the other competitors for company X? Why are they not in your portfolio? Are they better or worse? Why are they better or worse?
Is there the minimum limit to invest this fund?
There's a strong middle class.
we're moving up in terms of our GDP. What really happened is that one interesting data that got my attention was that household income of 8,500 to 40,000 US, we grow up to 2030 and household with lower income, which shrink. And the way we look at this phenomenon is essentially means that our disposable income, and therefore that will continue to accelerate what we are calling as premiumization in the Indian healthcare sector.
Share of GDP, which is around 3-4%, will end up becoming 16-17%. Our total GDP size is about less than $4 trillion. By the time Amrit Kal happens, in 2047, India turns 100, it will be about $29-30 trillion. Per capita income will go from $2,500 to $18,000. But more importantly,
To watch all the sessions, click the link in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media, and sign up for a monthly newsletter.